Hi, everybody. It's Angel Morgan, and welcome to Creature Code Podcast. Today, we're broadcasting live on United Public Radio Network, available on 105.3 FM on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in one of my favorite places, New Orleans. This is our debut show. I am so excited to be here. I want to thank everybody at UPRN. This show is going to be very unique in that I am not only a psychic medium, but I am also someone who wants to connect the human and animal world and all of the realms in between. So I'm really excited to have that opportunity. And we're going to have absolutely amazing guests on this show. We're going to have witch doctors from New Orleans. We're going to have healers. We're going to have paranormal investigators, people who've had experiences. And we're also going to have the everyday guests. So we're going to have dog therapy. We're going to have what do they call it? Energetic parenting. That's a big one. So I'm really excited for all of these different things. But for everybody viewing out there and everyone listening out there, please know that there is one little hiccup, and the network needs to know this too. So I'm sorry I didn't disclose it before, but honestly, I will tell you, this is a problem. And for those of you listening, for those of you watching, this is going to come up every once in a while. I have this little thing, and it's called cuteness aggression. And you'll hear that every once in a while. I just want to, when we have animal guests on or something really cool. And today I actually have something very special because I wasn't going to have a guest, but then I decided, I can't really have a show without a co-host, but we'll get to him later. I wanted to tell you a little bit about myself before we even start. For those of you who don't know me, hi, Miss Shelley, how are you? I do see you. This is something I have been doing for almost 30 years now. And this was never something that was on my plate as a child. I was a non-believer. I was a skeptic. And one of the things that I encountered really made me believe in all of this. And my journey started when I went to get a small deck of cards where I just thought they were pretty pictures. And I started kind of putting the cards on my table, and this crow came up, this raven came up. And I, for the first time, it was very strange. I heard this sound and it kept saying, look for the raven, look for the crow, look for the raven, look for the crow. And you can imagine how my little head kind of went, right? And so I was, through magical circumstances, introduced to this little store in Newmarket, Ontario called the Hedge Witch. I walked in and I looked up, and there was a raven, a beautiful crow sitting up there. And it made me realize that I was in the right place. I didn't know what that meant. I ended up having a reading that day. It wasn't something I had really done before. And what was really interesting is she told me at that point, I was an actor. I'm a classically trained actor, and I was in the last cuts of Shaw Festival. So if you're here in Canada, you'll know that's one of our bigger theaters. And she said, well, you're going to do this with the rest of your life. And I thought, oh, she's on crack. All right. Okay. That was a waste of money. And I left there. Within 6 weeks of that, I found myself in Guatemala, and through magical circumstances, again, I was up in the mountains with this medicine person. And it was really interesting because I thought, oh, they're going to take me into the mountains. It's going to be really cool because I am an adventurer. And I thought he's going to be in this big house and it's going to be really grand. And I was in this shanty town, and they took me up in this little chicken bus. They call them chicken buses. And the chicken bus had to go up the mountain, and actually the butt of this bus was hanging off the side of the mountain at one point before. And I thought, okay, this is where I die. This is where my story ends. And we end up in this very beautiful shanty town. And in this shanty town, I was taken to this big steel door. And in this steel door was this little area where literally this man opened the sliding door and you could just see his eyes. It was just eye size. It was something out of a movie. And he saw the person I was with and he let them in. She said, stay here. And I said, all right. So I sat there, and this was my first encounter consciously with animal communications. This little dog came around the corner. I didn't know. And it looked at me and went, it's okay. I'm with you. And I heard this. I thought, oh, I'm going crazy. And so I was allowed in. And sitting there was a statue. Now, there is a whole other story around that statue. It made me realize that, hey, some sort of magic is happening here. It was a statue of Saint Simon, one of the biggest saints in Peru and Guatemala. So I went into this, I was escorted into this room where there was this massive stone. And this stone looked like something out of Indiana Jones. It was like a sundial. And I looked up and there was a hole in the roof, and it was midday. So it was already very hot. And they placed candles, a bunch of candles, must have been about 12 or 13 candles in my hand at midday. And I thought, if I have a vision, I know where this is coming from. Heidi says, good day, Angel, and much love from Boulder, Colorado. I'm going in a dentist appointment at the moment, but wanted to stop and say hello, welcome, and show some love. Thank you so much, Heidi. I hope your dentist appointment goes well, but I'm sure it will. Debbie Marco, hi, how are you? Okay, so getting on with the story. As this ceremony is occurring, I am having all of these visions, and the medicine man turns to me and he says, you are going to talk to animals. You're going to speak to animals, and you're going to make a difference in this world. And I'd never heard of such a thing, except for in the movies with, Rex Harrison and all that jazz. And I thought, oh, this guy's on crack. That's always my go-to, because again, I was a non-believer. I was a skeptic. I come back to Canada, and through various circumstances, I start to talk to the owner of that little store, and we start getting to talking about animals, and she tells me about animal communications. I'm like, oh, this is a very interesting thing because this happened. So I was invited to a healing center, and at this healing center, they had all these books, and everybody was signing them, right? Everybody's kind of, oh, okay. I'm like, all right, everybody's just kind of doing a login. So I signed in. About a week later, I was sitting there at my computer and I get this email, and the email says, and I kid you not, don't forget, you have an animal communications class coming up. And I'm like, what? And I call my friend and she says, well, are you going? And I said, absolutely not. There's got to be a limit to something, to somewhere. There has to be a limit somewhere. She says, no, you're going. I'm going to take you. So she dragged me to this thing. So my intention, being who I am, decided that I was going to debunk this animal communications thing. I am going to prove that it is fake. And so I went. And by the end of the weekend, I was not only convinced this was real, but the last thing that we did was they paired us up, and they said, here is the picture that you're going to use. You're going to read this animal. And I had a turtle. Didn't know who this turtle was. And I was with my partner, which was the friend that brought me. So we're kind of, we're scribbling things down. We're not talking to each other. We're not looking at each other. We see the picture. This is a technique we use as animal communicators to teach. And this is how I teach too. And I see it, and I'm writing down the things that are coming to me, what I'm feeling, what I'm seeing, what I know. And I get this one thing, and I'm like, oh, that's really weird. Now, the teacher knows that I'm the biggest skeptic in the room. So, of course, she picks on me first. And she says, okay, Angel, stand up, tell us what you got. No. Stand up, tell us what you got. No. And finally, I'm like, okay, she wants me to do this. I'm going to do this. So I stood up, and she goes, well, what did you get? And I said, well, I got this. And I said, I got do. That's what I heard. And my friend shoots up and she goes, oh my God, I got the same thing. And she shows me her paper. And I'm like, are you what? And everything on her paper and everything on my paper were identical. She didn't say anything because it wasn't interesting enough, but that was. So after that, I was so convinced. I did the advanced class. Within about, I'd say 2, 3 months of that, I actually went back to that little store, and they happened to have one of their readers leave, which was very rare for them. And I asked them if they needed an animal communicator. And she said, well, I'll interview. That's all right. So we went to the back, and she asked me to say, okay, go do. And I said, all right, well, I'm seeing birds everywhere, like almost like an aviary. And she goes, no, 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 no. So I'm thinking, okay, that's it. I obviously don't want to do this. This isn't happening. This is, I lost the job. So I walk out, and her sister's there, and she says to her, she goes, yeah, she kept seeing birds or something. She says, don't you remember? Her sister says, don't you remember? So when we were little, our aunt had that place. It was like an aviary in her room. And she goes, oh my God. She goes, I completely forgot about that. She goes, you're hired. And that's where my animal communications journey started. As a reader, I started very, very early. I was a little girl, and I had woken up in the in-between place to a vision of my auntie who had passed, and she was standing by this tree. And I thought to myself, oh, that's interesting. I now know that that was the tree of life. And I could feel the warmth. I could feel how death felt. Of course, I didn't register it that way. I woke up. My mother came up the stairs, and she was sobbing. She said, your great Auntie Mary passed. And I said, I know. And she goes, how do you know? And I said, well, I just saw her. And she goes, you didn't see anything. You didn't hear anything. You didn't see anything. You don't know anything. And she turned around and she walked away. And until the animal communications came along, I kind of just put it all away, right? Which a lot of us do. But here I am almost 30 years later, doing this amazing thing, sharing animal communications, paranormal work. Obviously, that medicine man out in Guatemala knew what he was talking about. My friend who became like a sister to me knew what she was talking about. So let me see who's here. Debbie says, hello, all creatures. Hello, hello, hello. Laurie McIntyre, England. Hi, Angel. Excited for this podcast. I'm so excited too. Okay, there you go. That's, that is that cuteness aggression problem that I have. So before we go any further, I did want to introduce my guest because I would be completely remiss if I did not, because you've actually met him already, because this little guy is, he is one of my best friends. Hey, buddy. Oh, you're so good. He is actually someone you've already seen right at the beginning of the show, because our little, hi. Hello. Our little intro is based on this guy. And for those listening, you'll see that he's a little bit nervous to be on stage today. For those listening, I have my baby ball python. If you want to see him, you can catch us on YouTube in the replay, or you can catch us right now if you like. And his name is Benedict. Lucian Benedict Marcus Aurelius Graves. And he is probably one of my most fun. Oh, hi, honey. It's okay. Why are you so scared? Why are you so scared today, baby? You're okay. He was amazing. I'm not particularly fond of ball pythons, but I was at a pet store one day, and something drew me to the pet section, the snake section. And when I got there, I saw him, and I physically heard, my name is Marcus. Excuse me. After 30 years, I am still astounded at some of the things that I experience. And so I said, I have to hold him. And as soon as I did, he absolutely calmed me. He was just an incredible little thing. And so I went home, and I thought about it, and I thought, yeah, you know what? This is somebody that I want. And that night he came to me and he said, are you my mommy? And I'm like, I'm done. Next morning, I went back and I brought my new baby home. I'm just going to put him here because he loves to play. I'm just going to let him play on the desk for a while. And I thought, this is amazing. But his name, Marcus, never resonated with me. But he told me, he says, no, that has to be a part of my name. And I'm like, okay, but we got something else. And then all of a sudden, I was with a friend of mine, and I said, Benedict. It came to my head. I didn't speak it. I could hear it. And she at the same time was on her computer looking for names of snakes. And she goes, "Oh, you got to see this." And I said, "What?" And she turns it around and every form of Benedict came up. Benedict, Benny, Benedictus. And I'm like, "Are you kidding?" And I told her what I had seen. So I thought, okay, so Benedict has to be there. Marcus has to be there because this is what he wants. He's looking at me right now. This is what he wants. Lucian, every one of my snakes, I've had 5 of them, have been named after a movie. And Lucian, favorite movie, Underworld. We're going to be talking about movies in one of our episodes. Underworld, one of my favorite things. Vampires, werewolves. That's my gig. That is my gig. Vampires, my gig. And so Lucius, Benedict, Marcus Aurelius is, again, from Gladiator, but also a philosopher, one of my son's favorite philosophers, and the last name Graves, in honor of the work that I do. And I'm really, really happy about that. Blake Smith says, "Hey, Miss Angel, howdy from North Keswick." Oh my goodness. So my little buddy here is about 5.5 months old. So you guys are going to have the privilege of watching him grow up. Because this is just a wee thing. He's probably going to get to about 3 or 4 feet. He says, "I don't like this, mommy." He's actually quite high right now because my computer is on some books. He's starting to get to know me because, unfortunately, he came very sick. He was very sick. He had mites, a very severe case of mites. And when we found out, we had to bond because I had to give him his little medi baths, and I had to give him his little his medicines that day and all that stuff. So we actually, if you can see, there's his bubbly. There's his bubbly, 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 bubbly. He loved that. Okay. And for those listening, I've just put up a photo of Mr. Graves. He had just dunked himself underneath the water and brought up bubbles on his face. So he's so cute. So we got to know each other very quickly. So he's been a really amazing part of who we are. Now, one of the reasons I brought this up was because he is the mascot as well. He is the reason for our insignia for the Creatures Code podcast. And the reason we have the snake or the ball python very particularly, I'm going to put you back in home like that, and make sure that your lid is on, because if I don't, you're going to get out like you did the other day. He's quite smart. One of the reasons we chose the ball python was because before I got him, a few days before, I did a ceremony. And in this ceremony, I asked for protection, luck, and abundance for my work and for my career. Well, it turns out, I didn't know this before I got Benny, that the ball python, and the python in general, is luck, abundance, and protection. I thought that was so cool. And then I found out West Africa, there is actually a little town there, and it's in Benin. It's called Benin, Benin, and it is where the village of the sacred python is. And they literally have pythons. So you can see this on YouTube. Look it up, Benin, Sacred Village of the Pythons. Pretty amazing stuff. So we decided that this is the most appropriate thing for us to use as an insignia. And also because my spirit animal is the snake. So if I were to turn into an animal, I would be the black asp. And that is a sacred animal as well, because this was the animal chosen by Cleopatra. And that was the one that actually, what she chose to bring her into transition in the other worlds. So this show is a magical show on so many different levels. And I am excited to be able to share that with you. But the main thrust of this particular show is animal communications. And we are going to be next week talking to June Blackburn, who is one of the premier animal communicators. And she is amazing as an animal healer. And so this week, I kind of wanted to talk to everybody and get to know everybody. And if you have questions for me, we do that in the last half of the show. There's a segment that's called Ask Angel. And we even have some questions ready to go from animal parents that have written into us. And if you like, you can also come on live because we can invite people, and I'm going to put that in the chat, to come and talk to us and ask their question. Next week, we will also have the ability to take call-ins. So if you are listening out there at 107 point, I believe it's 107.5 and 107.7 in New Orleans and 105, you guys are going to be able to call in and talk to me too, and talk to June and talk to all my guests. And we're still kind of setting that part up. So if you want to join me now, you're more than welcome. I would love to have you on, but this is also for future shows. Okay. So we're excited to be here. So now, as an animal communicator, I have had the privilege of speaking to many, many animals in this particular physical realm and outside this realm. So one of the reasons I love animal communications is because I love working with those animals on the other side. And so grief work and grief communications is something that I've done for, again, almost 30 years. And I find it's very special because this kind of work allows us to bring peace, not only to the animal who has crossed, but to the families. And the one thing that we tend to forget about, which is the animal pet siblings, our pet pal siblings. And that's a pretty amazing thing, to be able to be a part of their world. And I know that for a fact. And I think one of my greatest stories is about an animal who was crossing, and one of the parents, the pet parents, asked me to come with them. And while I was working with the two siblings who were present, because I always say, make the animals present to witness, I could see and I could feel and I could hear what they needed and wanted. And it was a privilege for me to be able to be that bridge, that UN interpreter, as I call animal communicators. And this particular animal, Fifi, I remember she told me, don't worry, it's okay. You know, he's going to go to a better place. And when he does, we'll all see him again. Like, she had this beautiful wisdom about her that I have now come to understand most animals have. And as this animal was crossing, it was incredible what I saw. And whether you want to believe that or not is up to you. I respect all beliefs and all values. I saw Anubis, and he stood there in all of his glory. And what's really amazing is, on this path, what I have come to learn and understand is, a lot of times entities, energies, deities will come to you in a frame of reference. So if I know him to look a certain way or be a certain way, he more than likely will come that way, even if that may not be his essence form. And it was outstanding, because the second I saw this scepter that he had touch the dog took a breath and released. And it was amazing. And I would say to myself, you're crazy. You've finally gone around the bend, which I have several times. But in this case, the vision and the action, the physical action of the dog correlated. And so my human brain now understands, whoa, something's just happened here. And the gratitude that the family had for that moment was amazing. And that's what I live for. I don't live for fame. I don't live for recognition. I don't live for any of these things. I live for those moments of gratitude, those moments of connection, that moment of watching, witnessing, and experiencing true magic. And that's, I think, why we're all here, why we're all interested in this, because we all want to know and believe that this exists. And I'm here to say it is. It really is. I looked behind me at my coyote and it just freaked me out because I literally thought something else was there. That was really freaky. And yes, I do have many things behind me. You've probably noticed that. Pretty hard not to. I also work with ceremony. As an animal communicator, I have, and as an energy worker, I have had the privilege of doing healing work in many, many different ways. This is Zed, and Zed is a zebra. This has no name, but this is actually a boar, a very specific type of boar. And I love that I'm surrounded by these animals. And a lot of people will go, how could you? Why would you have that? Because when they come to me, I ask them, do you want to be here or do you want release? That's your choice. And I have a lot who have been released. And then I have a lot who want to stay with me and work with me. Downstairs on my living room table, I actually have a beautiful giraffe. The skull of a giraffe, Ella. And every morning I go downstairs and every morning I say, good morning, Ella. And every morning I connect to the essence and the spirit of giraffe medicine, which is, we think giraffes are fragile. Trust me, they're not. She's got attitude. And I am able to reach further in my work, understand my strength and my power, my graciousness, my elegance through her every time I see her. With Zed, he helps me to be able to listen and ground better. There's just so much that I'm able to do because I'm surrounded every day with these beautiful creatures. And my forte as an animal communicator, and every animal communicator does have a forte, really is exotics. So I can talk to dogs and I can talk to cats and I can talk to all kinds of birds and bunny rabbits and turtles, and I do. But my essence, my joy, my heart is really to the exotics. And I remember the night that I was put through ceremony for animal communications. I wasn't expecting it, but it started with a wolf who sat by my bed, and a white wolf, and everything started to turn into this jungle. And I saw monkeys, lizards, snakes. And at that point, I didn't have any snakes, and it was just an outstanding experience. And it didn't occur to me until years and years and years later that, oh, they were trying to show me my fortes. Miss Shelley, what a beautiful question. Miss Shelley has asked, do animals reincarnate? Absolutely, they do. So I do believe in cross-species reincarnation. And this isn't just animal to animal. This can be animal to human, human to animal. And I know a lot of people would probably, not agree with that. I know a lot of people believe that animals are a lower species or a lower energy. I don't believe that. I believe that animals in their spirit are pure. And so they have as much choice as we do. Animals have animal spirit and animal guides. You can do animal astrology. It's really, really cool. Animals go through a lot of the same things we do, only they process it very differently. The elephant is a huge example of that. An elephant will process the grief of losing a pack member, a family member, a child, an elder, or what have you, but their processing time is very different than ours. Our processing time can take years. Theirs is an acknowledgement of the animal who has passed, and then an acceptance that says, I have to continue to move forward. We have to continue to move forward, as sad as this is. Okay, so Debbie Marcos says, Debbie is I've known Debbie for years. So I've been doing this for close to 30 years. So I have been able to watch people grow and just amazing. Actually, Debbie is going to be one of our guests in the future. I am not judging here, but no, it's because of you. I see the beauty in snakes now, tarantulas, and still wrapping my head around the skulls, etc. But know what you're saying and do believe in know what you're saying and do believe in your words and work with animals here and beyond. And yes, animals are are a hierarchy. I love you. Like I love all of my clients. I think they're absolutely amazing and they've helped me grow too. The only reason I am here with you guys today is because of all of the amazing experiences I've had, but I can't have them without you guys. Sorry, I'm just Benny wants to try this again. Okay, so we're going to try Benny one more time. I listen at the same time as I move, so we're going to grab Benny. Hi, honey bunny. Oh, I said my boy. I said my boy. I love you. Oh, cuteness aggression moment. I love him so much. Okay, do you want to say hi to everybody now? Do you want to like see yourself here? Okay, see, we're in a better space now, aren't we, honey? Yes, you are. There, see, that's better. You're over your stage fright. Good for you. I am so impressed. Look at this. Do you guys remember? Do you guys remember the Jungle Book? Yeah, that was Kai. That was a ball python. So he wanted to be here, and I thought, all right, you know what? If you want, look, there he goes. He says, "Hi, everybody." Hi, everybody. Kind of looks like Kermit the Frog. If you guys remember, am I dating myself at this point? I probably am. And I know you listeners out there cannot see Benny, but he is absolutely loving every moment of this. And again, you guys can watch on YouTube if you want to check this out. I'm gonna set you down on the table, and you can go play a little bit while I do this. I don't know what a good idea that is, but we'll find out. So he is smiling, says Debbie. Lori says, hi, Benny. Alexandra says, so cute. Yeah, you know, I just, again, love my life as an animal communicator. And again, I started out as a skeptic. I started out as a non-believer. So if you're, oh, somebody wants to go Harry Carey and jump off the side of a desk. Okay, he's going back now. Back home, buddy. Yeah, I don't need you jumping off. Not a good idea. So animal communications and spirit work are very similar. So I have a lot of professional psychics who will come to me and say, how do you do both? How are you able to work with animals and work with humans? Spirit is spirit, energy is energy. The only difference is the vibration. I went from, there has to be a limit somewhere to the learning that the medicine people from Peru and Guatemala gave me, which is the only limitation we have are the ones we place on ourselves. And now I try to find how far I can go with things. How far can I push this limit? Okay, we have someone who does want to come on stage, and I know her, Alexandra. Hi, how are you? Okay, I'm going to ask you to unmute if you can, please. Can you unmute for me, or do I have to unmute you? Oh, I have to unmute you. Hi, Alex. Can you hear me? Hello? Oh, I can't get. Hi, Alex. Can you hear me? No? Oh, I'm so sorry. That would have been lovely. I actually have a question from Alex a little later on. So unfortunately, we couldn't get the mic to work, but maybe next week we'll try that again. So again, if you guys want to be on, kind of maybe try next week. Is she going to try? Oh, there we go. Mic to work. Hi, how are you?
Hello.
So again, if you guys want to hear me, okay, if you want to turn down your, yeah, exactly. You got it.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm amazing. Thank you for being our second guest on our show.
Yeah, he was really cute.
Aw, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. And I actually just did a reading for you yesterday, didn't I?
You did. It was incredible.
Yeah. We had a really, really good time. So tell me, do you have a question for me today?
I do. It's about my cat Bengal Yuki.
Mm-hmm.
So she tends to want to bite me whenever I'm either working. Thank you for sharing her cute picture. Whenever I'm working or even doing like more meditation and energy psychic work. So I'm just like curious, is my energy shifting something that bothers her, or is it more of my attention? And I'm
No,
curious
it's
how to
actually it's the
attend to her.
opposite. It
Oh.
really, really is the opposite. What's really interesting is that Yuki really loves the energy. And I find that, and this was something I wanted to mention because I did get your question earlier today, and I was looking at Yuki's picture. And one of the things is she really loves absorbing the energy. So really, she's not trying to interfere anyway. She just wants to play. She wants to enjoy it. She wants to feel like, even as I'm saying it, I can feel her feeling it. She doesn't mean to be disruptive. I do hear that too. I actually do. And she's saying that she does want to help you. So one of the things that I would do where you're concerned, because I have had cats that I've worked with as a healer, is really pay attention to where are they sitting on the person's body? What are they doing exactly, right? I used to sit with my clients and talk to them to find out what they wanted to work on. And then when my cat would come in, he would sit on the area that we had talked about. And I thought, okay, this is fantastic. I need now to move to that area. So I think incorporating your animal into your work is the next level for Yuki, because Yuki's also a little bored. Okay, so Yuki does want to do a little bit more work. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just when she's like sitting, like kind of sleeping, and I'll be doing like my either deeper meditation or energy work. She'll get up and like pounce and grab my arm and bite me. Like,
yeah, because you're disrupting her sleep.
Oh, okay.
You're disrupting her sleep. Come on, she's a cat.
Yeah.
My suggestion to you is, if you're doing a deep meditation, don't do it in the same room, or wait until she's not in a place where she's tired. Like, she takes her nap times. Don't do it during her nap time.
Okay.
Right? I mean, she's the cat. She's queen of the castle. What are you going to do?
She is the queen.
Right? She is. So, I mean, it's like having a roommate. Right? When do you play music in the house? When do you not play music in the house? And so the only reason she's doing that is, again, the energy at that point becomes overwhelming. She wants to sleep. And if you're meditating, you have a huge energy, and you're becoming greater because of the work you're doing, and you're elevating. So she's going to really experience that. Now, the other thing that I really would recommend doing is making sure that she is cleansed and cleared. Right? So when you can go to YouTube and you can find house clearing videos. They're like 8 hours long. Play it for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes in the house. That'll clear the house. That'll clear you. It'll clear Yuki. It'll clear everybody. I do that because I have a whole whack of animals in the house. So that's one way of doing it. Follow that by a chakra realignment video. You can find like 7-minute tune-ups, which are really, really helpful. And then you realign it. So you've cleansed and cleared the house, and then you've realigned it. That's a nice quick way without using a smudge or anything. I have snakes, so Benny's not my only one. So I can't use that kind of stuff because of their little lungs, right? So if you're adverse to using things there are many ways to do it. Okay. But keeping them aligned is really, really important.
Wonderful. I didn't realize, I guess animals do have chakra systems too. So
absolutely. And that again is a whole other show that we're going to be doing. Right.
I did have one additional thing. I sent her to be with my aunt part of the year when she's because she lost her husband recently. Should I check in with her so she doesn't feel like I've abandoned her in any way? I'm not sure if she feels abandoned in any way, but
you can, but I'm not feeling abandonment.
Yeah.
I'm feeling like she knows what she's a healer too. So it's like I said, she was bored. So this is giving her something to do.
Yes.
So check in because, your mom, you want to know what's going on. But in the same token, just understand she's not in a bad place at all.
Okay. Wonderful. Okay. Thank you so much. Wonderful. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. No, don't worry. I really, really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Wow. How much fun was that? I absolutely love that. That was just so amazing. Hang on a second. Okay, there we go. I'm just learning how to do this, so I am going to go a little slowly today. I don't want to, kick her out and then kick out the show or do. I'm still learning. StreamYard is very much like another app that I used, but it's still something unique to me. So if I'm going a little slow, please be patient with me today. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. This is amazing. We still have lots to do. One of the things I wanted to talk about too was the level of communications, because next week, because next week we have um, because we have next week June Blackburn coming on, I wanted to kind of set the stage for that. Animal communications has 4 levels: mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual. And so that mental level that we talk about with communicators is when they give us visions, when they give us ideas, when they give us thoughts. And so very quickly, it's that whole thing of you're doing the dishes and all of a sudden this thought pops into your head, an image of a bone pops in your head. You turn around and your dog is behind you. Okay, well, you know what? Maybe that's something you want to do, is give them the bone. Or you might see them doing the doggy dance and needing to go outside. So my thing is this: as long as you're not hurting yourself or anybody else, act on those things that you get. My biggest thing for owners who have animals who work on that particular level is have imaginary conversations with them, knowing they're not imaginary. Okay. Because a lot of times you will find that your relationship with them will nurture. That's all they want to do, is they just want to express themselves. The other thing too is a lot of animals who are working on the mental level, they are the ones who don't necessarily use words, just like the ones on the emotional level, which we're going to get to. So those are when, like, oh my God, he's so dumb, he doesn't understand a word I'm saying. No, he understands everything you're thinking, not necessarily what you're saying, because he doesn't have that necessarily that physical aspect. So those are the ones who are going to look deeply into your eyes, because they're trying to connect to you on that visual level. The physical animals are the ones who are blessings in themselves, because they're obvious, right? They want to go outside, so they go to your jacket, or they go and do something. They can ring the bell. They sit when they're hungry. They get pawed, and they're really easy because they understand every word that you're saying. You get a physical mental animal, they understand every word you're saying, and they understand every thought. Right? So even when you go out and you come back, they may not know where you've gone, but they can see the pizza place or the office or the guy that you had an argument with today. They see all of that. Okay. So the physical ones will show you that, hey, I know what you're going through. And they'll come over and they'll hang out with you. Those are the ones who are all over you. Those are the ones who seem really needy. They're not needy. They're just very physical, like humans. A lot of humans are physical, like myself. We're very, very movement oriented, right? We want to cuddle. We want to be beside our people. Then we have those ones who register on the emotional level. And on the emotional level, we have those who are the healers. These are the ones when you're sick, when you have a headache, they come and they sit on that part of your body. When you're sad, when you're angry, when you're feeling depressed, these are the animals who will come and they will comfort you. Right? These are the comfort animals. These are incredible animals because they are so wholly emotional. They don't need words. They can feel what you're feeling. Again, they won't understand a lot of what you're saying. So with those animals who are emotional, mental, what I tell a lot of pet parents is I will tell them, keep your statement short, right? Use an action verb. So let's go for a run, right? Run. You can feel that. Even if you don't want to, you can feel that. And there's an action word. So they're going to catch that feeling and they're going to see you running. And so it's like, okay, let's eat, right? Eating is an action. So there's, whether it's a very small feeling that goes with it, a microscopic feeling, there is a feeling, right? There is an image. We're having millions of thoughts a second, millions of feelings a second. So when you catch one, eat, that action verb, that animal who is mental emotional is going to pick up on that, right? The physical ones, they're physical. Come on, let's eat. They're going to understand. They're going to come. Then we have the one that everybody who works with spirit wants to connect to. And this is the spirit level animal. Angel, your mouth and voice are together anymore. Oh, they're not? I don't know why. I have no idea why that's happening. So bear with me, because I think it's just because I'm hoping it's going to catch up with itself. I really, really do. Let's see if that will help, maybe. And then go back. Maybe that will help. Ooh, I hope it will. So the spirit level animals are the ones who work on every single level. They're mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual. These ones are unique and come to people who are usually on the energetic path. They're the ones who will come in your dreams to protect you. They're the ones who'll be emotionally holding space for you. During magics, they will mentally help you with your visualizations, all that kind of stuff. These ones are also the most vulnerable to energy work. So what I was talking to Alex about, where cleansing and clearing are very important. For spirit level animals, that is more important than anything, keeping them clean. The spirit level animal communications is also about speaking to those who've crossed over. The ghosts, the ghost animals. And this is where everybody wants to be. I want to see a ghost. I really want to see a ghost. I want to hear a ghost. We need to understand that when we're working on this level, whether it's human or animal, sight and hearing aren't the only two abilities that we need to rely on. Our feel is our first line, right? What we feel when we walk in a room, especially on a paranormal investigation, we walk into a haunted house, everybody is, wanting to feel the ghost, wanting to see the ghost, not realizing that the ghosts that are there are not necessarily human. They can be animals, they can be creatures, they can be nature folk, they can be whatever they are. And so being open on every level and not just that one level is huge to understand, because if we have expectations of how something is going to happen, then you are going to slow the process down. But if we walk in going, okay, I'm open to receiving, what's going on? Come on, let's go. Having connections to your posse, your spirit team, all really important. Working with animals who've crossed over, ghosts of animals, is exciting. It's fun, but don't be myopic in that. Don't just expect to see them or hear them. It's also a matter of feeling them, right? And this is a really good example of that. Is I was with a paranormal team, and we were at the Horse Palace in Canada. We have Exhibition Place, and it used to be an old deployment center. It's now like a fair, right? And everybody goes there once a year. The Exhibition Place opens, and there are rides and cotton candy and vendors and all kinds of stuff. But the Horse Palace, which is within the exhibition, was a deployment, the last deployment area for soldiers in World War II, World War I, and actually even before. And when I first walked in, my intention was to connect to the animals, because I knew that everybody was there for the soldiers. I knew that everybody knew about the war stories, but what about the animals? And as soon as I walked in, it blew my mind, because I even didn't expect the idea of, what about the rats? What about the cats? Right? What about the animals we don't expect? Not just the horses, right? The horses are definitely going to be there because it was the Horse Palace. This is where they brought the horses in for deploying to other countries as well. And they were also where we do a lot of shows, horse shows and things like that. The winter fair. But there are so many other creatures there, and it skipped my mind until I was actually within the energy. And the reason for that is I didn't walk in going, okay, I want to see a horse, or I want to talk to a horse. My thing was, yeah, you know what? I want to feel that. And yeah, the birds, that was actually really cool, because we kept hearing birds, but there were no birds there. So that was really neat as well. We just had even a bunny. We had bunnies. We actually had bunnies. People had, it didn't occur to me that sometimes would travel with bunnies, because they had not just the soldiers, they had, kids go through there, nurses go through there. Like there were a lot of people who went through there and different things. So it was just an incredible experience. And at one point, I remember this was on the second day, I think we were there for 4 days. And I think it was on the second day, it could have been on the third. There was a woman in the group, and all that weekend, I had been hearing the hoofs of a horse down at the end of this kind of hallway where all the stalls were. And she came out and she was standing there, and I saw her, and I went over to her. I said, "You see him too, don't you?" And she goes, "Yeah." She goes, "I think I see this big," and I finished her sentence, "black horse." And she goes, "Oh my God, yeah." And at that moment, the horse actually presented itself. Like, you should have seen the two of us going, oh, with our mouths open. And we're standing there, and this horse literally comes out from where it was, looks at us, turns around, and walks back. And I'm just like, okay, I just wasn't just, and she's like, "No." And I'm like, okay. And she goes, "But you're the psychic. You do this all the time." I'm like, "That doesn't mean I'm not going to get floored. That's cool. Well, we just saw it. That is cool. Yeah. Cuteness aggression moment." So the reality is when we're working on spirit level, it can happen on so many different levels. I felt the rats. I heard the cats and what they were trying to say. And not all animals have voices, by the way. Sometimes it's just feel. Sometimes it's just a vision. Sometimes they're just still. Sometimes it's a thought. It depends on the animal, depends on the vibration. So we need to understand that when we do this kind of work, we're tapping into the different levels of animal communication: mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, but it will be dependent on that animal. What their level of communication was in life still is pervasive after death. And of course, we have all abilities after death, but that's how they knew us. That's how we're going to recognize them. So that's how they're going to connect to us, especially if they're pet pal family members. Now, if you have questions, please put them in the comments. I would love to hear your questions, and I will answer them for you. We are now at 5 o'clock, so we have a half an hour. At this point, we call this section, or I'm calling this section, Ask Angel. So at this point, you can ask all the questions that you want, and we're going to, at this point, take callers, take viewers, take your comments about your animal, an animal that you know, about animal communications, or just anything. Debbie, this is a topic that's hard to digest. However, I have just another I have just another speak negative how they treat their animal. I think and act so differently, not that they are abusive, but they feel negative and emotionally and mentally. I am in pain and want to lash out or try to change how to treat their fur kids. We need to think and do positive treatment on their behaviors for our fur kids. Now, this is a really, really good point she's making. Oh my God, this is not the full story, but perhaps communication needs to improve. So this is a really interesting one because, and the reason I say that is because we want to help the world. We want to help every single animal that comes our way. But we have to remember something. Animals, like anything else, whether it's a tree, whether it's a human, whether it's anything, they have contracts. They have to go through certain things for us, for them, for those around us. We call those the courageous contracts. Yeah, more education in how to treat animals is definitely something that is necessary. And some people don't know how to treat animals and should have a license. That's what it is. But we can say that about kids too. One of the things I always say is, if you want to know anything about a family, ask an animal. Watch the animal, because it's going to show you through not only the physical aspect of how it's treated or how it's communicated with, but also, as an animal communicator, I know about tons of affairs. I know about, I had a bird once that actually, it lived in the room of this boy, and it kept saying me, don't go, don't make him go, don't let him go. And because he was of university age, that's what I originally thought was going on. And then I kind of sat with the bird for a little bit, and I started to realize there's something else going on. And I asked, and I started to see these really dark things. And I went to the parents and I said, listen, I think we need to have a little bit of a chat here based on what the bird is showing me, because bird knows this boy better than anybody else. So we had a bit of a very gentle chat, and the boy kind of broke down, and we started talking, and it really healed that situation. But the whole reason they had me in is because they thought that if he did leave for university, what's going to happen to his bird? Is he going to be neglected? Is he going to be sad? Is he going to be depressed? Is he going to die from a broken heart? And what the bird really, really wanted was for this boy to live, right? For someone to understand what it was trying to say. So a lot of times, we need to understand what the situation is before we put a negative connotation on it. And a lot of times when there is a negative connotation on it, like abuse or what have you, animal communicators, OSPCA, call your nearest place. I had a woman call me and she goes, I have 3 horses. I said, I don't see anything wrong with them. And she goes, there isn't, but I have to give them up because I have to move and nobody can take care of them like me. So I need to put them down. And I'm like, wait, what? Wait, what? So, in that point, that's like, okay, I have information now and I can talk to her, but what else can I do? Thankfully, that one turned out well in that as a communicator, she trusted what I had to say. And that turned out extremely well because I did see other people that she could give it to, that she could trust. And that is what happened. But that, there's always that moral dilemma of, do you call? Do you not call? How far involved do you get? As animal communicators, as spirit walkers, that is not our place. We have to step back. But there are going to be situations where you, as a person, you can make that call. We can't diagnose because we're not veterinarians, but we can show what we see and go, hey, listen, go and validate that with your veterinarian. Go and take a look at that. And that's also helped. Tanya Hernandez, oh my God, I love you. I love you. She has blown my world wide open. So a couple of weeks ago, I went to this thing called Mojo Rising. And Tanya Hernandez, who is an incredible healer and is going to be on my show, that was not a request. And she gave me a new outlook on my work that has really freed me. And I thanked her then, and I want to thank her now. But yeah, they are sentient beings. She says they are here to teach us, not the other way around. We are stewards, caretakers, and not owners. And you will never see me. You will never hear me say owner. You will always see me say pet family, pet parent. And that is a perfectly true statement. And they are. And it's funny, because I know there are a lot of religions and people out there who believe animals don't have spirits. My mother and I used to fight about this. My mom used to say, they don't have spirits. They're not like us. They're not. And I used to fight in their defense. And Tanya says, let's see, also noting as we talk, she says, also noting as we talk about mistreatment of animals, we need to be mindful where we source our meat so we don't contribute and perpetuate that. Okay, so that's a really interesting comment, because as an animal communicator, I am asked consistently, do you eat meat? Do you eat? And I do. I am not a vegetarian. I am not a vegan. But Tanya hit it on the nose. I only source my meat from those I know. I know that they are treated well. I believe that we all, going back to contracts, have contracts. So there are those who believe in vegetarianism and vegan, and that's great. I completely respect that. I really, really do. But for me, there is a good hunter and there is a great hunter. And the great hunter puts down the tobacco to say, thank you for giving up for my family, for helping my family stay healthy and survive. And, for me, a great hunter does ceremony around that animal they're consuming. I do it with my vegetables. Vegetables are living things, right? So for me, I think everything that is living, that is on my plate, that I am consuming, needs to be thanked, needs to be put through ceremony. How do I do that? I have various ways of doing that. Whole other show. And Tony says, I love you too. Oh, I can't wait to talk to you again. Lori McIntyre, England. It's really interesting I just got a migraine after Benny left, and you were speaking about the skulls you have. Is this something that happens? I was thinking too many were trying to say something, or was that related? Yeah, when you talk about one, they all want to be talked about. But yes, so when we talk about skulls, especially for me anyway, this is a really high vibration. And so when we talk about these things, we are elevating the room. I'm also really passionate about my work. So that's raising the energy too. And I find that a lot of people who are sensitive can feel that. I did a podcast with Sahas Chopra, and that was a huge comment where people were making her energy is so big that I could feel it. So that could be my energy feeling, you're feeling Benny's energy, Zed's energy, my skull back there. It could be any of those things. So that's where you have to sit back and close your eyes and go, what is this, right? Who, what, when, where, why? Those are the 5 psychic questions I love to ask. Where is this coming from, right? Why am I feeling this? When we ask those questions, the answers will come. They will. Heidi says, I cannot fathom that they do not have a spirit or soul. I know, right? Okay. So I do have a question from one of my followers on Instagram, and it is from Louisa Folletti. And whoops, wait, that's not the right one. Add to stage. There we go. Louisa Folletti. And this is about Winston. What does my dog Winston, who is 6 years old, feel when he is with me and my husband? What does he sense about us? So, the first thing I always say is let's be real. We know our animals love us. If they didn't love us, they would show us. This is a dog who absolutely adores you. Now, having said that, there is something going on with you, Louisa, and Winston, who I am now tapped into. Winston is saying he's a little bit worried about you. It's almost like there's a decision you need to make, but he's saying to not to worry about the pros and cons, the go for it. I hear go for it. Stop worrying so much. So there is a decision you're making, and I feel like it affects the home. I don't know if it's about home, but it affects the home. And he really loves you. But he loves dad too, but you are mom. You are mom, like that kind of feeling around it. And he loves it when you feed him the soft, mushy stuff. Okay, the soft, mushy stuff. So he likes his wet food. Dad is really great, but he knows mom's in charge. It's almost like I see dad, it's like, okay, go ask mom. And I feel like dad does do a lot, and dad's guides and guardians are kind of chiming in going, hey, whoa, dad does do a lot. Dad seem incredibly involved, but this is definitely a mama's boy. This is definitely a mama's boy. He would like to have a sibling. So I don't know if there's a second dog in there or a cat. He says, no cats. He says he would like to have another dog. So if there's a potential for that, I think we need to maybe consider that. Okay. I love doing Ask Angel, because I always feel like Dear Abby. I used to write for this magazine in Vancouver, and I always felt like the Dear Abby of animals, and people would send me their questions. I could write it, and it was just, oh my God, it was so cool. And I do a little bit of that in my blog too. I do have a blog, mypsychiclifestyle.com. If you want an animal reading, you can either go to raisingenergy.com, or you can go to angelmorganpetpsychic.com. So those are the 2 places that you can find me. Please follow me on Instagram, because I do a lot of free lives there. I do a lot of free readings there. I give a lot of tips and techniques there as well. Let's see. Marie Cloud, my daughter can with her dogs. I notice I was reading. Understand them so much. Thank you. My daughter can with her dogs, understands them. Okay, I noticed when I was reading, understand them so much. Thank you. You are very welcome. Marie-Claude is another one of my beautiful, beautiful clients who's come to a lot of my sessions, my classes. And yeah, I do that too. I do Zoom online classes, and they're free. Most of them are free. I am actually doing one in May. I can't remember when, so you have to go to my website, and it's about the Akashic Records. So I'm going to help people learn how to work in the Akashic Records. So if you're seeing this as a replay, it would be May 2026. You can go to my website, raisingenergy.com. I'm also, if you're in the Stouffville, Newmarket area, I'm doing a show in May as well, May 9th at Harmony Hall. And these will all include animal communications. Anything I do always includes animal communications, which makes me a little bit different. But the show that I'm doing at Harmony Hall this year is going to be unique because I'm going to be calling on the ancestors. I'm going to be calling on gods, goddesses, loas to help me give messages. So I'm not just tapping into ancestors this year. This year is going to be a big year to work with conjure men like Uncle Monday. I love this guy. He is so beautiful. And my wonderful Oshun, right? And these are amazing, amazing entities to work with. And again, we're going to be, oh, he wants some honey. We're going to be talking about a lot of these different cultures on this show too, because I am a cultural folklorist and I love my mythologies. I love my folklore. I love, listening to the stories of the old. And I have a couple of guests who are coming on from New Orleans who will be, I'm sure, talking about the Rougarou and maybe even about Bigfoot. So these are things I just enjoy. And that's a question too, right? Like this is a debate I go through all the time with my friends. Is Bigfoot human? Is it an animal? Is it that link that we're what is that? Whether it is real or not real is irrelevant. It's the conversation. It's the energy. And that's a really important thing too. So with my particular show, we're going to go through all the different realms. We're going to talk about all kinds of things. And you, as a participant, can come on my show, talk about your animal, talk about your experiences. And we're going to have Debbie, who's going to be talking about ferret and ferret rescue and her adventures and her loving things. And we're going to have Rodney Kaufman of Corporate Canine Therapy, who's going to talk about therapy dogs. And we're also going to have a wolf on our show. No, I kid you not. No, I am not joking. We're going to have a beautiful wolf who will grace our presence. And we're going to talk about what it's like to live with wolf medicine and wolf energy. And that's going to be a really dynamic show because the person who has this wolf is dynamic in themselves. We're going to have witch doctors. We're going to talk about voodoo, voodoo, and how we utilize animals in ceremony. We're going to have a water witch who's going to be like, dude, I got this set up. I got you. Okay. So it's going to be amazing. You can check us out on YouTube. You can check us out and listen and I'm sorry, I am still learning. So let me just bring that up because I do not want to miss that at all. You can listen to us on 105.3 FM on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. So you guys can listen. And apparently we have like 200 platforms that this streams on. So you can find UPRN anywhere. And the Creature Code podcast with me, Angel Morgan. Do you guys have any more questions before we sign off? We still have a little bit of time. Let me see. Okay, we're good. So I want to leave you with some final thoughts. If you are on this path, please remember, spirit is spirit. Whether it is a human spirit or an animal spirit or a god or an entity that's extraterrestrial or interstellar, if they are of the light, there should be no reason not to work with them. Allow them to be a part of your journey. Allow them to be a part of your life. Allow them to help you give the messages and live your life to the fullest. Just remember, this is not always about, hey, you know what? I have a message to give you. Hey, let's talk to dead things. That's not what this is about. This is about growing as individuals, connecting to spirit. And as you grow, it trickles out to others. So always remember, what you do for you, you're doing for others. On this path, the more you work on you, the more you have fun, the more you enjoy. I'm Gemini. If it ain't fun, I ain't going to do it. So the more you enjoy your life, you're going to find that you will open up to your abilities. My thing is this. Your psychic abilities are there. They're there. Okay? They are fully developed. You're just remembering. You are gaining confidence in what is already. You're gaining confidence every time you experience it. Every time an animal talks to you, and you hear their voice or you feel them, you will understand that you are in the right place at the right time with the right people, and it will grow your intuition and it will grow your physical life as well. Okay. This is really, really important. Yeah, I love that, Heidi. I like you. She says, be the ripple. Yes, be the ripple. This is what we want to do. Bridge that world between humans and animals and all the realms in between. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here today for our inaugural podcast. Both Benny and I both really, really appreciate everyone who has been here. If you're watching the replay, thank you too. If you're listening right now or you're listening later, thank you so much for allowing me to be in your presence, because without you, it's a little hard to do this, right? So thank you for your light, because understand something too. Your power right now adds to this group energy. And this group energy is what makes this successful. It's not about me being successful. It's about what makes this successful. And what this is the sharing. What this is the ability and the platform to give everybody else the knowledge that they need, whether you're a beginner, an intermediate, or an adept. I mean, even me, I went to WitchCon, and I was speaking at WitchCon and I was eating up the entire weekend. It was so awesome because I learned, right? You never stop learning. You never stop growing. You never stop feeding on the beautiful energies that are out there. So thank you for allowing me to be one of those energies that helps to grow you. And thank you for being one of those energies that helps me to grow. Until I see you next Monday on the Creature Code podcast. Hang on a second. I'm supposed to say this, so I will, and I love it. Closing. Thank you all for tuning in. You have been listening to Creature Code Podcast live on United Public Radio Network 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. Have a great day. Have a great noon. Have a great night.